The hits keep coming. The Pope appointed a bishop, one that's turning some heads, we'll say. And this is a bishop in France that he appointed, and Gloria TV's got the report. It's a long report, so I'm not going to read the whole thing. But he said, the headline is, Leo XIV appoints sensitive French bishop. I felt fragile. I found help from a psychotherapist. Whew, that's reassuring. Generally speaking, the church will not ordain people who've got psychological hangups for clearly obvious reasons in the post-McCarrick world. But he's been appointed, and I'm not going to share everything about him because it's not that important. I'm just going to start down here. I seem to have lost my spot, but that's fine. But remember, it's here. Feast your eyes on this. He wants the FSSP to offer the Novus Ordo Missae. For some of you who will think that's not a big deal, well, it actually is. You see, the FSSP were founded by the men who left the SSPX in 1988 after Archbishop Lefebvre's quote-unquote illicit consecration of bishops. I mock the idea that they were illicit because they literally changed the code of canon law to try to stop him from ordaining or for consecrating bishops. The long history of the church, that practice had been allowed beforehand. Now they tried to stop him. And the clear crisis in the church gives him permission to do it because the first law of the church is the salvation of souls. And he was literally terrified that there was not going to be enough shepherds who taught the authentic faith to safeguard souls. But those priests who left the SSPX founded the FSSP. They did so with the permission of Rome to be wholly dedicated to the traditional Mass. Now, there are a few FSSP priests who have freely offered the Novus Ordo as well. Most of them in Europe, so it's not unheard of for them to do this. But this bishop wants the FSSP in France to do this. And that's a crossing the line against, undermining their dedication to their charisms. Here's what he has to say, because it's not just about the FSSP here. De Dinichin is known for his poetic sensibility. That'd be the bishop here. He has written his New Year greetings in verse. In 2023, his poem, whose name I won't try to ruin, is in French, praised the landscape of the Aisne region, fields, rivers, farmers, factories, and churches. His text, another French phrase I won't try to destroy, talks about discernment, interior life, and calling. Prior to Francis's pontificate, in January 2013, during a prayer for the family in Paris, the bishop called for resistance and defense of the natural family. Good on him for that. In the same homily, he said on the James Martin sin that some people, quote, are familiar with the disorder in question. This is at the heart of their daily struggle, he added, that they deserve respect. Here he's referring clearly to those who we affiliate now with Courage, the group of men and women with that inclination that James Martin wants to make normal, but who disagree with him, who want to carry their cross and live as Catholics. And so they take on the great cross they've been given and are a courageous example for all of us to emulate with our own struggles in life. Those are Catholics carrying a cross that we don't have, but who recognize it as a cross and not something to celebrate. Let's continue. The bishop has largely avoided debates on controversial issues. However, in 2016, he aligned himself with Pope Francis and spoke to a local French church paper positively about welcoming migrants in the rural region of that area. This was in 2016, was when the debate about migrants in Europe was taking off. It was becoming the hot button issue of the time. So he sided against the will of the people in that way. The bishop is open to the Mass in the Roman Rite, meaning the traditional Mass. He welcomed the Chartres pilgrimage and conferred the sacrament of confirmation in the Roman Rite at the famous St. Eugene Parish in Paris. In June 2020, he conferred ordinations for the FSSP. However, according to a comment on the Riposte Catholique website, he abused the sermon to encourage priests of the fraternity to celebrate the Novus Ordo as well. In an interview with a news website, he quotes a Catholic author, Georges Bernanos, "Hope is victory over despair." The events of the 2020 affliction and the related crisis, and of the manipulative Ted McCarrick report in 2021 in France, left me feeling fragile both personally and morally. This led me to seek help, and I was assisted by a psychotherapist to take stock of the situation. And at this point, I sought out a guide who understood that this was just a crisis. Furthermore, the bishop explained that he goes on long hikes, practice that dates back to his military service. So there you go. That's the new bishop in question here, who wants the FSSP to offer the Novus Ordo Mass as well as the traditional Mass. And there are plenty of Novus Ordo priests and seminarians who say they will never offer the new Mass. Some of you will say that's a schismatic attitude. They join the FSSP to offer the traditional sacraments in their traditional form. Baptism, confession, all of them in their pre-Vatican II form. And they had been given assurances that they could do that. But now you've been seeing recently, in recent months, certain bishops pushing back on that, trying to get them to do this. Most recently, it was declared to be schismatic if they refused to concelebrate the Chrism Mass with their bishop. Do you know that no priest is required to concelebrate any Mass, even the Chrism Mass, with their bishop? For political reasons and for career reasons, sure, it's a great idea to do it, but you don't have to. Oftentimes, FSSP priests will attend that Mass, and they'll be there, but they won't be concelebrating it. But they're being asked in some dioceses now, do this or else. The pressure is mounting on the FSSP to essentially conform to the Novus Ordo. I do think this is part of the ongoing legacy of Traditionis Custodes. And it will be interesting to see what the Pope does with that, because there are good signs, as I report on later today in my other video, coming from Rome about him ruling one way or the other. And it would be a good thing, even if he ruled negatively about Traditionis Custodes, meaning if he upheld it. It would be a good thing, and here's why it would be a good thing. Because we would finally know unequivocally where we stand on the liturgy question with him. We'd be able to end the speculation, end the endless debate and dithering about Leo's going to restore the Latin Mass or not. It'd be good to get the clarity, to know where we stand. I'm curious what you think of all this. You find that bishop to be a problematic character, that he needed to go see professional mental health assistance after the events of 2020. My thinking is he was his conscience was plaguing him. After all, I can't imagine how some bishops feel, those with a functioning sense of faith, how they felt taking people's sacraments away from them, since every bishop in the world did, except for the SSPX. But I'm curious what you think of all this. So let me know in the comments, please. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments, please. Like and subscribe if you haven't. It does help. Sharing this on social media helps too. Please pray for that bishop. Please pray for him. My aim is not to make you mad at him. Pray for him. And pray that he gets clarity on the FSSP question. Pray for anybody else we spoke about today, especially if they make you angry. And as always, pray for the church. I'm Anthony Stine. Ave Maria.